Hello, everyone. Welcome to our roundtable session. Before we begin, please confirm that you can hear me in the chat. Okay, nice. So we have the answers coming in, so everything is fine. Great. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to the roundtable session. And the title is it is titled Bring Your Therapeutic Quality Challenges, and it is a part of our free day Beyond Compliance event. And we are glad you're joining us for this session. My name is Jan Kugel from Qualistory, the co-sponsor of the event, and I will be your moderator for this session. This session will be recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email in the next couple of days with resources and a recording from our uh, colleagues at Qualio. And if you do not, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Qualio team to check on. Of course, a huge thank you to our co-sponsor of this free-day event, Qualio. This event would be possible without the great Qualio team. A bit overview about the systems on the uh, right-hand side of your screen. You'll see the options for how to engage with your speakers. Please go ahead and introduce yourself to other audience members in the chat, and we encourage you to ask our host questions along the way. Send those questions to the Q&A section, and that way we will address them immediately. And this roundtable is all about the discussion and the questions with our great speakers. So let me give you a short introduction about the excellent experts joining us today. So first of all, Raz Eliav is in an independent consultant to companies in drug development and the founder of Beyond CMC, which offers training courses on CMC and regulatory affairs. He's a biotech engineer and MSc in and has an MSc in molecular biology. He's hugely experienced in all stages of development, from proof of concept studies to market applications in diverse modalities such as biologicals, gene therapies, liposomes, and many more. Our second expert joining us today is Amnon Eilat. He is the head of quality for Alkeos Pharmaceuticals. He is experienced in the complete life cycle of biological and small molecule drug development from discovery through non-clinical and tox studies, clinical trials, process and meta development, GMP manufacture, validation, regulatory submission, and US EU MHRA commercial product approvals. And the last but not least, Sumata Dablu, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, sits on Qualio's team of the industry experts as a senior quality specialist. Sumata has over 20 years of QA/RA experience across the medical device and pharmaceutical sectors. She holds a master's in chemistry and advanced certificate in quality assurance management, along with other certification for ISO 13485, ISO 17025, ISO 9001, and IATF 16949. And as a reminder, Raz, Amnon, and Sumata have and will be presenting at other webinar sessions throughout this event. So Amnon will be presenting at the next event starting shortly after this roundtable, and it's titled Mastering the FDA's Quality Management Maturity Program. And Raz did earlier a session today applying ICHQ8 in an outsourced operation. And if you missed it, you will get a recording of the session, so don't worry. And Sumata will be presenting tomorrow's first session, taking risks ICHQ9. Talking about the risk ICHQ9 quality risk management. So please make sure to join those events. So now that we finish with the introduction, I want to welcome our panelists to the stage, and let you know that this session will be until 6 o'clock GMT. So we have 25 minutes left. And all the session is all about answering your questions and having a discussion between our speakers about those interesting topics and questions. So please don't be shy. Um, Write down your questions in the chat, and I will start out with until you I get more questions from you. I will start out with some of the questions that you sent us beforehand as we requested. So please start sharing your questions, and maybe I will let also our speaker just say a quick hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hope
Everybody.
you can hear me.
Yeah,
Hello
so we
everyone,
can
I'm Sumata.
perfect. Great. So I can hear you clearly, and everybody can. So let's start with the first question, and it was emailed to us before the event. So it is. So here the question goes: what do pharma manufacturers need to get ready for Drug Supply Chain Security Act when it goes live in November? So, Nathan, maybe you would like to start.
Yeah, sure, Jan. Thank you for the introduction as well. So I'll go ahead with the answer for this question. So it's a good point on the Drug Supply Chain Security Act, that is the DSCA. So it mainly, as you all know, it mainly focuses on how drugs are moved, tracked, and distributed. So when I say like tracked and distributed, so it will require the wholesale distributors and the third party logistics providers that obtain national licensure and then the report licensure status annually to the FDA. So, apart from this, the policies and procedures should be in place to allow for unit level traceability. So, when I talk about unit level traceability, that means the product identification of your prescription, that is the pharmaceutical products further down the chain. So, and with my experience, I also say that all communications with your trading partners, authorities, and dispensers that must be properly managed. Nevertheless, always go with the risk-based approach as well. So this is where this comes up, where you need to get a risk management plan in place. So to minimize any potential disruptions at your supply chain operations and manufacturing. So, FDA has released a draft guidance document on this, that is the risk management plans to mitigate the potential for drug shortages guidance document. And you may also have to remember on that the DSCA is ultimately about protecting against your shortages. So, despite the federal requirement in the CADES Act for the manufacturers to make an annual report of the manufactured product volumes of the FDA as well as engagement is still really low, and about the third quarters of the manufacturers still aren't reporting properly. So begin reporting your outputs to the FDA to help them get the broader picture. So this is important, and this is the expectations from all the manufacturers as well. There are some more guidance documents that FDA has released, which you may want to, go through them. For example, notifying FDA of a discontinuance or interruption in manufacturing of finished products or active pharmaceutical ingredients under Section 506C of FD&C Act. FD&C Act is the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And there are other guidance documents which was released on December 2023. That is on the verification systems under the Drug Supply Chain Security Act for certain prescription drugs. For the This is a guidance document for the industry. So, what I would also say that based on these guidance documents, you may have to finalize or you may have to review everything based on those requirements and may ensure that the supply chain is having meeting all the requirements that is needed. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you so much. Raz, Amnon, would you like to add something from your side to the Drug Supply Chain Security Act?
Well, I think it was a very good assessment of the new requirements. I think what's important is to keep in mind that. By the way, are you hearing me with an echo, or am I sounding okay?
We don't hear the echo. I think you're
Did you
okay.
hear me okay?
Yeah, so I think your Wi-Fi might be a bit low sometimes, but we don't hear an echo.
Live answer.
Okay. So, meanwhile, Raz, would you like to add something to the question, or can we move to the next one?
Oh, next one. Yes. No additions from me.
Okay, thank you, Raz. So let's go to the next questions here. So another question that was emailed to us beforehand is the following. We want to move to ICH compliance as a springboard for when the quality management maturity program goes live. Is there a recommended order for focusing on ICH Q8, Q9, and Q10? And does it make sense to focus on Q10 compliance if we are outsourcing our manufacturing?
Should I jump in?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a very good question. So I don't know if everyone in the person asked the question was in our previous talk when we spoke about ICHQ8, and we basically followed through the entire development mountain, so to speak. In essence, ICH Q8, Q9, Q10 are they tackle different aspects. Okay, so it's not like there is a specific order of implementing them. Okay, ICH Q8 is largely focused on the development of the manufacturing process and is very relevant for the development years. But as I mentioned in the talk, these principles are applicable also when we continue the improvement of our process. Okay, when we do continual improvement and we learn more and we apply science and scientific understanding to our process. ICH Q9 and Q10 specifically say that these principles are applicable throughout development. Okay, and of course, the expectation is that as you move forward in development, you basically, let's say, apply more of the principles. Okay, so you're not expected to have everything in place when you're very early on in development. This goes well into also phase appropriate GMP, which Amnon is a leading figure in this, in setting up this term in the technical report by PDA. So it's more or less the same principles where you basically build your system in a stepwise approach such that it is relevant to your stage of development. Now, just to add that ICHQ10 also specifically speaks of the different stages. Okay, so they were already aware of this nuance when they wrote ICHQ10, and they specifically outlined the different activities that are relevant for each stage of development and how they apply. And yes, and just to relate to this, to the last part of the question, does it make sense to focus on Q10 compliance if we're outsourcing our manufacturing? So the answer is definitely a yes. So in spite not being a hard requirement to have your own GMP compliant quality management system if you're not directly involved in those activities. Having a holistic view and a pharmaceutical quality system as a sponsor, even if everything is outsourced, is a very good idea in forward perspective. And again, this is also specifically mentioned in ICH Q10 itself. So there is a specific subsection showing you how these principles apply in an outsourced setup, basically. So yeah, these are my thoughts. Yeah, let me think if there's anything to add. But Amnon,
Yeah,
if
I would just like
or
to add to
Samantha,
that,
please.
Okay,
Uh,
so basically, there needs to be some sort of oversight level quality system at the sponsor companies. So even though you may not have reviewed batch records, QA/QC internally, there needs to be a level of oversight procedures that show how the sponsor does its oversight over product quality and release. And a lot of that is in monitoring, qualifying and monitoring the performance of the CMO or QC labs, etc.
Okay, perfect.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Aman, for adding this. So we can now move to the next question from Susan. What is the regulatory expectation and industry best practices for QMS elements that must be implemented for a startup biotech virtual company at phase 1 clinical stage trials? So who would like to tackle it first?
I can start, Jan, on this, and then for while answering the previous question, Raz also mentioned the different step based approach for the QMS system. So something similar, where you may want to have a graded approach, starting from implementation of the QMS requirements with a step by step, where you will create some documents, the basic required documents, which are common across in all the life science industry. So those you can implement first initially, followed by ensuring the specific requirements so that you are following within the this when you say the startup biotech. So this is where you may be focusing on mainly on the implementation of the QMS system with the documents, and you can identify all the processes that you are working with, specifically in the phase 1 clinical trial stage. And accordingly, you can identify those processes, create documents, implement them, train the employees. If it is a small team, you can make sure it's easy for you to train them, making sure that everything is streamlined, followed by so this will help you in focusing on the QMS elements, and then you can also bring in the CGMP requirements from the FDA for the phase 1. So that's where it depends on like how you are working on. If you are a commercial research organization, a CRO, this is where the clinical trials stage requirements, the policies, protocols, how if you are bringing in suppliers, so this you need to evaluate those suppliers and then make sure that the supplier requirements are terms and conditions are put together and they are following the same requirements that you need to comply with. And maybe Raz and Amnon may want to add more to this question.
Well, I mean, it's again the oversight. Even for a startup company, there needs to be some sort of quality function, whether it's internal or it's contracted, and documentation of what's happening. At least deal with qualification of these third parties, and then approval of product, but also if there are out of spec events, there needs to be definitely some sort of oversight from the startup, even if they're at early stage. It's just again, it could be very simple, straightforward, but oversight responsibility is always there.
Yeah, so I agree. Yeah, Amnon and Sumata touched the really the critical aspect. That's basically it is your your own responsibility at the end to ensure that the product is of quality, even if it's outsourced. And that's also a direct quote from ICH Q10 saying that. But just to maybe add and to relate to the previous talk is that quality management system also has an opportunity for holding a lot of the project knowledge. Okay, so it is sometimes not something that is directly held by the sponsor. Okay, but we had previous talks in the past that basically I said that if your supplier has their own QMS and you have access to it, then you also get access to a lot of the project data. And this is also touching back with the practices of insourcing your knowledge and knowledge management. So the QMS should not be neglected as one of those sources of knowledge. That's just my addition. So it's an opportunity beyond the requirement, the basic GMP requirement.
Yes, and there's pre-GMP stuff too. Since Raz already referred to the PDA's technical report 56, which is application of phase-appropriate GMPs, it really talks about the importance to have some sort of documentation, some sort of decision making, some sort of way of bringing information forward, whether it's through your lab notebooks, whether they're manual or electronic. There has to be some way of having the correct documentation recorded, then issued in reports. Things need to be signed, reviewed. That really starts at the beginning, even before GMP, because again, the full name of that technical report is application of phase-appropriate GMP and quality systems. So good documentation practice should be from the beginning, and some sort of method of tracking changes in the process. It may not be a GMP process change, but otherwise people really lose a lot of information. And the latest version of Technical Report 56, which we are actually just received back from the PDA and we'll be starting to review their comments, and this is being done also with partnership with FDA, a greater emphasis on the transfer of information from R&D to process development, preclinical into GMP. That is a much greater expanded section and talking about quality parameters and when to start implementing those and track those. So I think that issue of information, as you said, Raz, it's important, but there has to be some sort of formal way of doing it, whether it's done completely outsourced, that's fine. But then again, the sponsor, as you mentioned, has to have access to all that information and also make sure that the third parties are writing the reports properly, being correct. Hopefully they're subject matter experts at the sponsor that can say, yes, this is a good report, this is good information, this is how we're going to develop our process. And if we make changes, these are the justifications we did for making changes and methods, and start developing early specifications and early quality parameters.
Okay, and how much QA involvement should be in such first phase clinical trials companies?
Well, I mean, there has to be some sort of QA involvement. But again, if service just as people, and that is usually done through a contractor or to manage clinical work activities, etc. But there must be, from the moment you've gone to GMP or going into GMP, there should be some sort of QA involvement and oversight. Before that, as I said, it doesn't hurt. Some companies do that, they want that, but that's not because QA has to necessarily make this decisions, but to help advise, help make sure that whatever early documentation and knowledge systems and processes are being done properly, so that there's not this abrupt shift and loss of information between process development to GMP manufacturing.
And there is the different questions of liability. So you must, even if you rely 90% on your supplier's quality team and quality systems, and you trust them in full, you still have the ultimate responsibility. And many times it's not black and white, and the supplier is a separate business entity than you, and they see they have different view of your risks. Okay, so they are different stakeholders, they see things differently. So it's always a good idea, as Amnon says, even to hire a contractor to sort of serve as an independent to the supplier quality function that maintains your, let's say, your position or your interests in this situation, even if it's only as oversight. Same as quality audits, by the way. That's why we always do quality audits by third parties, because we want to make sure that things are done correctly.
Great, thank you. So we have time maybe for two more questions. And so I have a question here. So I hope you will get it clearly, because let me share it here. So the current ICH 13 describes the continuous manufacturing process. In your experience, are there submitted dossiers in which the continuous is the only option described in the section on the pharmaceutical development, manufacturing, and controls? Please let me know if it's clear for you, the question, because if not, we will move on.
To me, the question is clear. I must admit that I haven't submitted myself this kind of process. Does it have to be? I assume that, you know, so again, if the process has two options, one is the continuous and one is in a batch, then it makes sense to obviously include both. But if I understand from the question, it's a process that by definition was developed such that a step or several steps in the process are continuous by definition, and they are worried that there is somehow no contingency presented, I guess. So again, if there is a risk in running this as a continuous process, if they identify this risk and they're worried of regulatory pushback on this risk, then they should be ready with an answer on this regard. So I wouldn't present this as an option just for the sake of presenting it. It's a risk mitigation question, and it really depends on the specific process and the specific concern. That's my initial again, take on it.
And continuous, it depends what you mean. I mean, I definitely am familiar with, let's say, continuous bioprocessing, where, you know, you have 30 days of a bioreactor that's pulling off sub batches continuously. Some people may have developed something even more sophisticated, but truthfully, you know, continuous flow is possible. It's also possible in some of these small molecule processes. But if that's how the process was designed, it should have been designed to be robust and to have ways of dealing with stoppages or equipment failure without losing all of the product. I think that has to be part of the design when you're not just doing batch production.
Correct, Raz and Amnon. I agree with you. So because here, when it is the continuous batch, and how it also depends on how complex the product formulation or the drug substance they are coming up with, and how the manufacturing process they have defined. So it all depends on all the parameters that need to be followed, and then the specifications that are needed for these specific processes. So
But there has to be some sort of process continuity or disaster recovery in case the process stops, so you don't lose everything. I think that's a given.
Great, thank you. So we have reached the end of our short roundtable. We have still several questions left unanswered. So my suggestion is that we will take them with us, and we will, if there is time, we will push them during next roundtables. Or please feel free to ask them again if you don't mention it. Also during the lectures, which might be relevant throughout the 3 days event. So thank you very much for the audience who join us for this roundtable. Thank you very much, our incredible speakers. And our event continues. Amnon will go live in 30 minutes. And
I'll see you soon.
see you soon. And Raz, thank you very much for the incredible talk today. And Sumata,
Pleasure.
we will see you as well tomorrow.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
everyone. Bye.